Wherever you are in the world, welcome to another edition of Jerry's Take on China. How can the only country in the world showing positive growth in almost all measurable metrics be described as a cause for concern? Please don't forget to like and share this video. This is one of the most important videos I think I've made with regard to how Western media misinforms us about China. In March of this year, Li Keqiang, who is a world-renowned economist, gave his final presentation as premier to the two sessions. He forecast a growth in China's GDP of about 5%. A few days later, the newly elected, yes, you heard that right, the newly elected premier of China, Li Qiang, gave his first news conference, and he stayed very much on message. He stated there was much work to be done, many challenges ahead, but China would achieve a 2023 GDP growth of about 5%. Both Li Keqiang and Li Qiang are qualified economists. Both have backgrounds in managing large regions of China, and both know what they're talking about when it comes to governance in China. When they say China has challenges, it's because they know there are challenges. But the main difference between China and other countries is that those challenges are being addressed. One of the great things about Chinese governance is stability. 5-year plans are not based on election promises. They're roadmaps, and they form key performance indicators for the people who write them and administer them. It wasn't a surprise to me when the figures for the first half of 2023 were released that most Western media reported them negatively. What was a surprise was that not one media outlet I saw compared them to China's forecast, which has so far been overachieved. Or they didn't compare them to Western achievements either, so let's take a closer look. When China forecast about 5% growth for the entire year, and the first half of the year comes in at 5.5%, what is it that has global experts shuddering and reporting slowdowns instead of the truth? China's growth was growth. That's all there is to it. China grew by 5.5% in the first half of the year. But if that was what was reported positively in Western media, people would immediately know that something is being done right in China and wrong in their own countries. So instead of any positivity, what we see are interpretations of the numbers designed to make less critical readers believe that not all is right in communist China. Compare a Reuters report which managed to convey the impression that China was failing with the CNN report showing the remarkable success of the USA. China's growth, according to Reuters, was only 0.8%. What did Reuters do that was so different to China's media and the rest of the world? It compared the second quarter's growth to the first quarter's growth of 4.5%, and with an incredible amount of journalistic gymnastics, defined these 2 quarters of exceptional growth given global circumstances as a slowdown. If we're reading the Reuters report on China, we'd quite rightly be worried, but if we're reading CNN's report on the USA, we'd have reason to be optimistic. Except that what the headline doesn't tell us in the CNN report was that, despite being released on June the 29th, it didn't cover the second quarter, and the expanded growth referred to was only for the first 3 months, and it was only 2%. In other words, less than half of China's growth for the same period. The real story in the USA is, according to JP Morgan, a lot more dire. The overall growth of the first half of the year fell short of expectations, and the annualized growth for the first half measured against last year is between 1.5 and 2%. But it gets worse. The forecast is negative growth for the remainder of the year, and I haven't seen that reported in Reuters or on CNN yet. Taking a look at the UK, it's even worse. The British government's own statistics are frighteningly bad, and it doesn't take a genius to work out that the UK is in a recession already. The Parliamentary Library released a report recently to show that both UK and Germany are officially in recession. Once again, they word it well. They show a growth of 0.1% against the previous quarter, which was also growth of 0.1% on the quarter before. But the preceding 2 quarters were both negative. So the UK has declined in GDP over the last 12 months, and since 2020, according to the Bank of England, has failed to reach any forecast growth numbers. UK's Japanese-owned Financial Times, from behind its paywall, offers its readers cautionary tales of China's slowdown. In one headline, it reports 0% inflation in China as a sign of trouble, presumably since last year UK had 10%, and the owners would like their readers to think that's a good thing. I don't want this to seem like another coming collapse debunked video. This is a different one. We're witnessing massive misinformation here on behalf of failing governments to portray China negatively while the West portrays itself positively. If we do a little research, we can see the opposite is true. China has some problems, but there isn't a country in the world that doesn't. Overall, exports are up. Foreign trade grew by 2.1%. Exports by 3.7%. Imports are down, but admittedly that's only 0.1% reduction. Trade with ASEAN is up. Trade with the USA is up. Domestic consumption is up. Direct foreign investment in China is up. Major economies of the world are struggling to reach 1 or 2% growth. China is achieving 5 to 6%. Other economies struggle with unemployment rising, poverty increasing, and inflation up to double digits, while China provides increased living standards. And despite concerns which are real, there's a rising youth unemployment problem, the overall employment rate in China shows no increase so far in 2023. China has not increased interest rates on loans, nor experienced inflation rises. It's hardly surprising leaders in the West who are failing the ordinary people would not want those ordinary people to know how well communist China is doing. So when you read anything on the situation in China, please consider reading Chinese media, official government statistics, and proper Western business analysis. The interpretive headlines of media are designed to misinform us. Thanks once again for watching, and please don't forget the usual: like, share, and if you haven't already, consider subscribing. And I'll see you next time. Thank you.